I am so glad you convinced me that the family car should be the Defender 110. It is so beautiful inside, it's so comfortable, and it just feels indestructible.
Yes, it really is. I've been waiting a long time for the new model to come out. The Defender 110, I'm telling you, it's my favorite car of all times. It's my third one. You know, I have stories of going off road. The guy managed the group. He was like, "What are you doing in this beautiful car?" I'm like, "I'm going off road." He's like, "Are you sure? Because you can use one of ours." And then they look like Mad Max cars. I'm like, "No, no, 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 we're going to do this." And he was shocked.
Wow. Well, it's great because the Defender has been reimagined for 21st century adventure, and its unparalleled off-road ability as well as its robust interior are invaluable whether you're headed towards uncharted territory or just a weekend of exploration. The Defender 110 tackles challenging surroundings with absolute confidence. The SUV conveys strength outside and in, featuring peerless technology like an intuitive driver display and an award-winning infotainment system. That's my favorite part, to keep you connected no matter where the journey takes you. Adventure is unique to everyone, and so is the Defender. Choose from the two-door Defender 90, the four-door Defender 110, or the larger Defender 130 with the ability to seat up to 8 passengers. You'll find uncompromising performance in all three. So pack up and go even further with the Defender 110. Learn more at LandRoverUSA.com/Defender.
Capella University is rethinking higher education. With its game-changing FlexPath learning format, you can earn your degree on your schedule and fit your education seamlessly into your life. Imagine your future differently at capella.edu. How old were your kids when you got divorced?
Oh, I think Hunter was 7, Olivia was 5, and Grayson was 2.
And so, like, the 7-year-old and the 5-year-old, you would read them stories to sleep at night. Did they ever have a nightmare and, you would go downstairs and see what the nightmare was about and comfort them?
Oh, yeah. No, I remember, this is a funny story. I was in my house and I was writing. I'd sold an article to FHM magazine. It was when I first started writing. And I had a Heineken. I remember I was sitting in my chair, I was writing on my laptop, I had my Heineken. I put my Heineken down because I heard Olivia's, she was crying from her bedroom. So I go back in there, I go and I comfort her. She's having a nightmare. I walk out, my beer is flipped over, and I was like, man, that thing was 3/4 full and it's gone. There's not a big mess. I'm like, okay, that doesn't, I go in the fridge, I get another Heineken, and I come out, and then I see my 2-year-old son, Grayson, walking around, and he's got this like swagger.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, he drank the beer, 2 years old. So I called my friend
Very
Glenn.
prodigious children.
Yeah. I think it was Glenn or Eric, one of my medic buddies in the SEAL team. Like, hey, this happened. He's like, hey, just keep an eye on him. As long as he's doing this, he should be okay.
So again,
I had to tell my wife,
your source of wisdom, you called when you had to live here. But what I was going to get to was, when you're going through a divorce, you realize, one of the things you realize is you're not going to be around those kids ever again in the same way. It's not going to be like when they're going to school, you're with them those 250 days of the year straight.
And I actually think this is a great topic, and people don't talk about divorce and family enough because it's just like this elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about it. And I feel like especially judged because I don't live with my kids full time. I don't know what your arrangement is.
I don't live with my kids full time. My kids they were just with me for different amounts of weeks, and this is their last week with them, and so maybe that's why I was thinking of this. But I just want to mention, when I read about your divorce and the kids, one thing I was thinking was, when I got divorced, the thing I was afraid of the most, and this really almost incapacitated me, was that I would not be able to be there when they woke up in the middle of the night having a nightmare.
Yeah.
There was probably never going to happen again.
Yeah.
Even though, it could happen when they were staying with me, but it's a random event, so it may never happen again. And I wonder if that was a thought, a fear.
I mean, I had this. When I divorced, I was coaching Little League, and enjoyed it. I had this vision of fatherhood for the future, and we were in marriage counseling, and when we decided to end the relationship, and it was really her, I was holding on to it. I didn't want to be a failure. And we decided, thankfully, we had a great lady we were working with that really helped us have a good divorce, and build and work at a friendship that we have a strong bond today. But yeah, I was afraid I just lost this whole vision of what I thought being a dad was going to be like, and was in an empty house alone by myself, having to have the conversations with the neighbors. Where's your wife? Where's your kids?
Yeah, those shameful conversations.
Yeah, having to bump into the Little League commissioner. Hey, you coaching this year? So I had to deal with all that stuff.
And again, that feeling of they could be having a nightmare tonight and I'm not going to be able to comfort them.
Yeah, or they get bullied at school and I'm not going to be there. So, I would, and, our situation was unique. My wife at the time had a good family support system. They had this beautiful ranch in Northern California. She's like, I want to go up there. And she was dealing with stuff. And the psychologist we were working with said, look, happy mom, happy kids. You got to support her in this. And I was like, no, the law says this. You can't move out of the county. But I made peace with it. And then over time, we built this amazing relationship to the point where even the in-laws kind of take sides in the beginning. But we started setting the example, and both our sets of parents kind of fell in. And today I get text messages from my former mother-in-law, like, congratulations on the new book. So we have this like amazing relationship.
So like when you're first going through it though, and you're like, you feel this palpable loneliness, particularly because, you're torn away from your children for the first time. Maybe I'm dramatizing it too much, but how did you tell yourself, okay, I'm going to deal with this fear, and then what was the jumping off point? You jumping off as part of your process in dealing with fear. What was your jumping off point where you're like, okay, my relationship with my kids are going to be different, but it's going to be great. I'm going to make it great in my own way.
Yeah, that was, I don't remember what moment it was, but that was the catalyst, right? I realized, okay, my relationship with my kid has changed. My idea of what fatherhood is in the future has changed. How do I create this into a positive and make it the best situation possible? And so I came up with a plan. We decided, look, for stability, let's not do this back and forth stuff. They'll be with you, you'll be with your family on your family's ranch, which helps us, that she had a beautiful house to stay in Paso Robles. And we just decided, okay, this is how we're going to have a co-parenting relationship in the future. And I would get the kids in the summer, and we'd have a winter holiday. And so I said, I'm going to build a tradition of adventure in the summer, and then we're going to take this family ski trip in the winter. And I taught the kids from nothing into expert skiers. My daughter's on the ski race team this year in high school. So I created this tradition, and we FaceTime, and we have our way, and it's a very positive environment. When I can, and their mom got remarried, had 2 more daughters. Her husband's a great guy. He's a chiropractor up in Oregon, and I literally have the kind of relationship where it was not last Thanksgiving before. I have an investment property in Oregon. I went up there and I said, look, how about I just cook Thanksgiving dinner for everybody? So all her family came over, her husband, and I cooked Thanksgiving dinner, and we're like, sharing stories. That's a kind of relationship I have. And
so again, it's this focus on always being self-aware and this is what we just talked about, was not necessarily fear, but also depression. Your same process applies. And like the process itself is, let me find where I bookmarked it. The process itself is coming to the decision of dealing with the fear, rehearsal, kind of, I guess, getting in safe scenarios where you could encounter the fear, but very deeply it's not going to harm you. Letting go, really deciding that, okay, I'm gonna feel the fear, and I'm gonna somehow sit with it and figure out new ways to deal with it. Jumping off where now you have to really come up with a long-term plan of dealing with the fear or the depression or whatever. And then what I think is the most important, what you say is the most important, is knowing what matters.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was reading in your book about knowing what matters, I was thinking, boy, this is going to be great. I'm going to get in this podcast and I'm going to say, that reminds me of Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, the stories you're telling. And then like the very next page, it's just like Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. So I'm like, oh, Brandon thought of it. But knowing what matters is, I mean, that's how Viktor Frankl, as an example, survived, the worst concentration camps in World War II, and so many people didn't. That's how knowing what matters, like your kids in this case, allows you to go all the way back and make the decision. I need to deal with this fear.
Yeah.
I need to figure out how to let go, how to jump off, because what matters to me is my family. I think that's such an important, also precursor skill.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of the. I mean, the reason I put it at the end because it's so important, and I see so many people, and you probably experience this too. They go, James, I want to be rich. And you're like, okay, what's rich? What's the number? They don't even know what the number is.
Right. And you bring up the point, like you turn a lot of kind of self-help advice upside down, but you bring up the point that it's BS to say money's not important, because obviously it is important.
Yeah.
If you could do a lot of things with money, hopefully good, unfortunately some bad, but hopefully people listening to this do good things with it. And you can enjoy life. You can pursue your passions more if you have some money. And that's why we're all trying to succeed and build careers and so on. But fear, just going for money will never get you there. Hey, just a quick reminder, go claim your copy of my free book called Fact Me at jamesaltucher.com/FAQ. It's a collection of questions people have asked me over the years, ranging from how to come up with good ideas, all the way to my views on online dating or who would win in a fight, Batman or Spider-Man. Just head on over to jamesaltucher.com/FAQ. That's jamesaltucher.com/FAQ. Thanks so much.
AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry and literally billions of dollars are being invested. So buckle up. The problem is that AI needs a lot of speed and processing power, so how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing, and of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less, like Uber, 8x8, and Databricks Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/advance. That's oracle.com/advance. oracle.com/advance.